Good morning, y'all. I'm going to check my mail. It's Tuesday, about 11:25, and Hazel and I are going to check our mail, and I have a package there, and I'm very excited. It could be Q-tips, y'all, and I would be excited about it. Is my thing crooked? Oh well, I guess it doesn't matter. And then I'm going to go by and take Mary Jo and her brother Joe lunch today and see Marge. You know what, y'all? I had a dream last night that I went in to see Marge, and she was sitting up in bed and she was chattering like a magpie. It was so awesome. Now, I think we've all heard stories of folks when they're getting ready to pass. That happens. They just sit up and they're totally lucid and they can talk for a while. And then right after that, they pass away. Now, I don't know about Alzheimer's, folks, y'all. That's a totally different deal. So, anyway, I did have that dream, and it was so wonderful. It was so wonderful. Now, I'm gonna finish up husband number 4 today. I can't remember, y'all, whether I told you this or not, but I finally told him that he had to go to AA or we were going to have to get a divorce. It was so hard for me to tell him that, y'all, because I still loved him so much. But it was breaking my heart. And it was starting to really affect our home life. Now, he had never drank at home. Never. Except, well, you know, a couple of beers watching a football game. But we never kept alcohol in our home, really. Only a little beer. But there was a couple that we met when we were in Quantico, a young couple, of course, because let me tell y'all, he was 32 and counting. He was over 32. The Marine Corps at the time, I don't know what it is now, but to become an officer, you had to be under 30 years old. That's why when he came home and told me, babe, we're getting out, we're going to Oklahoma, I'm going to finish my degree, and I'm coming back in as an officer. And of course I told him, I said, hello, you're a little too old. And he said, I'm going to do it. So, you know, whatever he set his mind to, he could do it as far as his career. If he had put as much time and devotion into our marriage, we would still be one of the happiest couples you ever met. But he couldn't, or he didn't. I don't know what the deal was, but anyway. So he did accomplish that. He had some folks high up that saw his record, and they gave him waivers for his age and something else. I can't remember what it was. So anyway, he was the oldest lieutenant in the Marine Corps. And let me tell y'all, I was 5 years older than him, and I still am. but I was 5 years older than him. So you can imagine what an old lady I was around all those 18 to 22, maybe 23 old women. I was the oldest wife. So this couple that we met while we were there, we got to be friends with. And he was the nicest young man. So nice. And she was lazy, dramatic, a real pain in the butt, actually. They were out on a 7-day exercise, which is one of the toughest that you can do in the Marine Corps. And she actually called her husband's command and told them, I am sick. I want my husband to come home. Now let me tell y'all something. You can ruin a guy's career by doing stuff like that. They don't tolerate that. But she didn't care. She wanted things her way. But, you know, I tried to be friends with her and, you know, and all that. Well, anyway, when we got back to Camp Pendleton, and things got to that point between me and my husband, they would come over to visit. And my husband had turned our garage into a man cave, which I didn't have a problem with that at all. But they would come over and they started drinking in my house, in our house, in the house that I had told him before I married him, there would be no alcohol acting up in my home in front of my child. He knew all about my background, my alcoholic parents, my drug addict brother, my drug addict sister. He knew all about that. I was very plain. Well, then things started getting bad. And when he was drunk, he was mean to me, verbally. Very mean. So while they were downstairs drinking, now I must say her husband, he was like me. He just was not a drinker. He'd have a beer or two. And then he and I would get so disgusted at our spouses. She turned into a real slut when she was drunk. So I would just get up and go upstairs. I just couldn't tolerate that. And I wouldn't tolerate it. Nobody is going to be mean to me. No. My first husband taught me that. So anyway, one day I did tell him, I said, if you don't get help for your alcohol problem, we're going to have to get a divorce. So the next day I called and I was looking for him. I don't know, I had some question for him or whatever. And nobody knew where he was. And that, you know, I didn't really call and look for him hardly ever. But that didn't surprise me because he was always, you know, involved in something with his job. So he came home that night and he put his briefcase down and opened it up. And I said, you know, I called today looking for you and nobody knew where you were. And he said, I was at the base attorney's office And he took out these papers and he put them down on the table. He said, these are our divorce papers. You've heard people say that their heart broke, that they felt like somebody stabbed them in the heart and twisted the knife. I can still remember the pain of that, y'all. So I said, well, I guess that's that. So I went and got a job and I moved out. Well, after I moved, I would ask him, you know, if I called the house to talk to my son or whatever, I would ask him, are you ready to sign the papers yet? Turn them in, and he'd say, well, I'll get to it, I'll get to it. And then he and I started dating. Y'all, you know, we would go to the movies, we would go out to eat, we did stuff with our friends, and we had a blast. I guess it's because the pressure was off. But we had a lot of fun. And our friends would say, I thought y'all were getting a divorce. And we would both say, oh, we are. So finally, we had gotten into it over my truck, which was a birthday present from him to me, and it had gotten stolen. And so after the insurance did the claim and all of that, I got a check and I bought another truck to replace the one that got stolen. Well, he got really, really irate with me because he felt like he was entitled to half of that insurance money. Now, y'all, I don't know. I felt like it was my truck. You know, it was a gift to me. And when it got stolen and the check came, I felt like that was to replace the truck. So, you know what? I don't know. But anyway, he got really pissed. And I ended up paying him back for that. So after that, we were not friendly. And one day, Mary Jo and I were out at the pool at the property that she was managing. And I was living there too. And so it was on a Saturday and she was off and we had our little bikinis on and we were sitting out getting some sun by the pool. And we were on the far right-hand side of the pool. And I happened to look up and he's coming through the pool gate with another guy. And he has the guy walk over to me in front of everybody and hand me the papers. And he said, "You are served." And he walked back over to my husband and they left. Now I felt like, y'all, that was embarrassing. That was humiliating. All he had to do, going under a bridge, y'all, all he had to do was tell me. All he had to do was call me and I would have met him, whatever. And he could have given me the papers, but he had to hurt me. One more time. I want to tell y'all, it takes 6 months for a divorce to be final in California. Now in Arkansas and a few other places, it's 30 days. Well, he had to pay me some alimony because we'd been married for, I don't know, over 10 years. Yeah, I was entitled to have his retirement, and I told my attorney, no, I don't want it. That's his money. He earned it. I don't want it. And my attorney looked at me like I'd lost my mind. So anyway, he had to pay me some alimony. I think it was for about 3 years. And they start out at a certain amount, and then they lower it and they lower it, and then that's the end of it. He didn't have to pay child support. He had adopted my son, but my son was living with him in our home. Now, he would mail me a check for my alimony. And you know, at the bottom of the check, across from the signature line on the left-hand side of the check, there's like memo, and you can write what it's for. He used to write down there, bitches welfare. I mean, at first it made me mad, but then after a while I was like, you know what? What do I care what he writes? The check cashes. So, I can tell y'all one of the things that really, really made him angry with me is that the wife of this couple I was talking about, he was overseas. And it was one of the last overseas things he did while we were married. And she told him that I was having men come to our home and spend the night with me while I had my son there with me. Now, I think really deep down in his heart, he knew that she was lying. But just like anybody else, I guess there was a little part that just was niggling in his brain that maybe I was really doing that. So that really affected our relationship, besides the insurance thing. So anyway, he was very bitter and angry, and I was very hurt. So that was it. We didn't talk after that for many years. Now I'm going to tell y'all that I know this is getting long probably. I can't even see my clock for the sun. But anyway, for many, many years, I just always felt like that someday we were going to get back together. I did. I just felt like that someday, after enough time had passed, and we would get over that stuff, and we would get back together again. I know that was stupid on my part. Well, I was talking to my son one day, and he just said, Dad's wife. And I was like, what? He said, yeah, he got married a little while back. I said, wow. Now that was like a punch in my chest. I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. And I'd always had his email, but I didn't use it unless it was in regards to our son. So I sent him an email. And I said, you know, maybe I shouldn't even be telling you this, because I know you are a married man and you know that I respect that. And I would never do anything to disrespect another woman. But I'm just going to tell you, now you're married and everything, I always thought that we would get back together. And he said, he sent me an email back, and he said, me too. Well, that was kind of painful, but you know what? I'm not one of those people that really sits around and dwells on the past. One thing, it's painful if you do that. And there's nothing you can do about it. And so, you know what? I just accepted it. That's the way it is. That's the way it was. But I'm just telling y'all that part of it to let you know. I mean, that was really painful for me, that divorce. And after we divorced, I went through this thing of, you know what? Men are shits. Pardon my English. And I was angry and I was hurt. So when I finally started dating again, I'd go out 1 or 2 times with them and I would just drop them. Just drop them. I didn't care. I was angry. And that was not right, y'all, but that was a reaction. So that's it. That's it for him. Now, y'all know we still stay in touch occasionally. And it's just to make sure that the other one's okay. And so I don't ever have to find out that somebody I care about has died and I didn't know it. So, y'all, that's it. We just stay in touch. Years ago, we met up and we went out to dinner and we were laughing about the bitches' welfare on the checks and, you know, stuff like that. And so you have to let bygones be bygones. You have to forgive. You never forget. I will never forget. But you do have to forgive and move on. I love y'all. I'm going in to check my mail and do something fun today. Bye.